Hey guys, I'm Melhorn, and today we're chasing blue catfish in the fall. Alright guys, I got out here near in the middle of the week, early fall. There is not a bit of breeze. It is slick as glass. So I decided to anchor up. Right up on a point here. Found a bunch of arches. A bunch of good markings on the bottom. There's a bunch of bait around. I just got set up and I've got something skimming the top of the water out here. I think they are gar. I think I've had a school of gar come in here feeding, which is generally not a good sign for catching catfish. For some reason, I don't usually get bit around them too much. I haven't got a good look, but I think they are gar. They're kind of coming up. They're not tail slapping like stripers, or they don't have the splash of a perch. They're just kind of gliding up out of the water, so I think it's gar. I hadn't got a good look at one of them yet, but I'm gonna try this for a little bit. It's really calm today, so I'm gonna anchor on a few of these humps near the shore. The fish that we've been catching lately have been near shore, up in these creek mouths and coves, and I've been dragging for them, and just drifting, pulling a Santee rig. So what I'm gonna try today, something a little different, and just try putting out some baits anchored up, just to see if I can get in there and get on some fish. A little different technique, a little easier. Real easy to do out here during the week. There's no recreational boat traffic, and the wind's real calm today, which, you know, it lends to trolling too, because you can really take the boat wherever you want when the wind's calm. When you got a strong wind, you're a little bit more at the mercy of the wind. Today you can kind of go where you want to. These winds may pick up though. We'll see what happens later in the day. I'm just playing it by ear now. And got some shad. Netted a bunch out here, so I'm going to go with that. And put the baits in the water and see what happens. Alright guys, I'll spare you all the boring video of not catching fish for 2 hours while I'll anchored up in 2 different spots. But I didn't catch any fish. So I'm going to go back to what has been working, and that is dragging for baits in creeks. Had the baits out long enough for me to go sit down and get a bottle of water. I've already hooked up a small one, but a fish nonetheless, and that's going to be a quick release right there. The pattern's working. So I'm going to stick with it and see if I can find a big fish. That's going to be the challenge. It's produced a lot of eater-sized fish, small fish, but no big ones. It's like a planer board rod's going off. It just got that bait out. The fish I just caught, I got that rod back out. Turned around to look at the spacing on the rods. I thought this one may have gotten hit right away, and I said, I wonder if I need to check that one. And bam, I've got a fish on. Again, nothing major, but this pattern is producing for whatever reasons here. Kind of small blue. This, let me get this fish without it getting me first. This lake is covered in bait. The creeks are not the only place holding bait. But for whatever reason, the catfish are staying in the creeks to feed. At least the ones that I'm able to catch are in the creeks. What's the reason? Who knows? I don't really think that's too important trying to figure out, because there's sometimes we just don't know why stuff does what it does when it comes to fishing. But what we do know is that we've tried different stuff here past week or so of fishing, and this is what's working right now. I don't know that this is necessarily seasonal, because this time of the year, in the early fall, we can catch these fish further out on flats and river channels. But for right now, it's working. And I think that's the point to take away from this, is that sometimes you got to cover water to figure out what's working, but pay attention to what that pattern is, because that pattern may last for a few days, a week, a couple of weeks, especially with very stable weather like we've got this year. Our weather is very stable, no real big changes. Once these fish get in a pattern like this, they're pretty much going to stay like this until the weather changes. Temperature drops, fronts, rain, something like that. So we're going to keep working it. I'm going to keep seeing if this is going to produce, and hopefully we'll keep catching fish. Alright guys, dragging up in this creek. I'm basically going deep to shallow, starting at the mouth, working back into it. I've got some wind coming up now. I didn't have that when I started. Nothing major, but there is a little ripple on the water. For whatever reason, I think that makes a difference in the way fish set up and react. Call me crazy, but I've had better luck drifting into the wind than drifting with the wind than drifting against it. So I'm gonna troll back in here. I'm gonna keep going back into this creek, and I'm gonna turn around and go back out with the wind just to see if it makes a difference. We'll do a little experiment while we're out here, and also gives me time to see if there are fish up in here like I think there are. So far we've caught a couple, didn't catch any out on the main lake. So right now this pattern's working, and just some good information, something for you guys to keep in mind. You know, once you find a little pattern that's working, a lot of times it will keep going until there's a big difference in the weather. So we'll see what happens here. Alright guys, doing a little experimenting here on this pattern. Caught fish out there at the mouth of it, right before it opened up to the main lake. I'm pulling back into the back and I'm not getting bit. So I'm going to keep dragging. Reason being, I'm just curious to see if that's really where all the fish are. All the biting fish anyway. I'm going to go revisit it. Like I said, I'm getting into the back of this thing. It's getting fairly shallow. It's, I don't know, it's still 8 or 10 feet of water. And hey, listen, the biggest fish I pulled out fishing down here in the past week came out of about 7 feet of water. I had rode into the back of a creek, turned around and come out, and put some baits out, and just 2 minutes later I had a 20-some pound blue on. So don't dismiss the shallow water stuff even when the water's hot. Because like I've said before, there's 3 things that fish key on where they're at. First and foremost, they've got to have oxygen. They've got to be able to breathe. Second thing, they got to have something to eat. And actually the third thing is temperature. Temperature is really not that big of a deal. They can pretty much withstand any water temperatures that they're going to hit in here as long as they've got oxygen and food. They may not like it, but if all those things are absent somewhere else, they're going to be sitting back here in the warmer water. It's not really hot right now. Our water temperature in here is only 80 degrees, so it's going to be warmer back in here than it is out there in some deeper water. But yeah, don't discount these places, because the shallow water, even when it's warm, the right day, right conditions can hold big fish. Alright guys, getting into the back of a creek, and I may have one rod going off here. I was actually talking to Lyle Stokes from Catfish Weekly, which if you're not subscribed, you need to. It's here on YouTube. Catfish Weekly comes on every Monday night. Great show. I was actually chatting with him on the phone, and a rod went off. So Lyle, if you watch this, just know that you were more important to talk to than me catching this catfish. So now, if it would have really folded over, I probably would have hung up on Lyle, but I ain't gonna tell him that. Now I'm into this back shallow part of this creek, and got hit a couple times, but I'm almost on. I'm gonna keep going. I'm in about 8 feet of water. Still small fish. I don't know what these big fish are doing. That's kind of the fall pattern here. Not a lot of big fish. It's another one. This looks like a white cat. One of our bullhead buddies. Big old wide chucklehead. Yes. Little one. Just enough to get some slime on me. But I get this a little bit further, and I'm probably going to pull up, and I want to really try the mouth of this creek and another one to see if that's what's working. Like I said, if it is, I don't know why, but it is, and that's the way we'll fish it. So we'll see what happens here. Alright guys, I think we're hooked into one. There we go. Wind's died on me again. It's kind of come and go, here and there, come and go. I've got the drift sock out. Trolling motor kind of keeping me on course. I've got just enough wind to move the boat. Not enough to really rip it. Trolling motor to keep it in line in case it dies. It's kind of the way I do it. 4 rods out the back. Only running 2 planer boards today. Avoid some snags and dealing with that. Another small blue. Man, we can get on some eaters, but this big fish bite is elusive. An occasional one, but it's mostly these fish right here. Alright guys, I've given this a long drag with no luck. Came across a creek channel, a couple of flats, and been dragging right down here near the bank, and it is not producing fish. So hey, listen, there's sometimes you give it everything you got, you try everything you got going on, and it just ain't biting. And I think that's today. I think I'm gonna just call it a day. I put 5 fish in the boat, no size whatsoever to them, and I think I'm gonna punch out and just say that the catfish won today, and that's okay. That's it's part of fishing. You don't catch them every time. You don't catch a lot of them every time, and it's what keeps us coming back, looking for a good day. If you like these videos, please hit that subscribe button down there so you can stay up to date on all the new videos we have coming out, because sometimes I actually catch some fish. And leave any comments or questions down there in the comment section below, especially if you can tell me where the fish were today. I'd love to hear it. We'll see you on the water.